Ferrari, which on Saturday in qualifying was 9/10 behind pole position and could not go beyond 6th place, secured a podium finish after the 72 laps of the Formula One Dutch Grand Prix. There were no retirements or errors from competitors. The third place achieved by Charles Leclerc came from performance, with a gap of only 2.5 seconds at the finish line from Max Verstappen. It has been known for some time that the SF-24 is more of a race animal than a qualifying one, but on the eve of the race, it was Charles Leclerc himself who indicated 6th place as the best possible result. Team principal Frederic Vasseur explained that he often mentions how the details can sometimes make the difference, whether positive or negative. He noted that when performance is lacking, there is a tendency to push too hard, which can cause tire issues. In an attempt to compensate, aggressive strategic choices might be made, leading to an even more negative spiral. However, on that particular day, everything went in the right direction. Things went well from the start at the 4.259-kilometer circuit Zandvoort, with Charles Leclerc being able to overtake the Red Bull RB20 car of Sergio Perez at the beginning. It was a key moment in the Monegasque's race, along with the very effective undercut executed on lap 25. The French manager explained that they had initially planned the stop for the 26th lap, but decided to bring it forward by 1 lap, without it posing a risk in terms of tire management. The early pit stop allowed the Monegasque driver to pass both George Russell and Oscar Piastri, although it quickly became evident that the Mercedes driver lacked the pace to regain the position, while with Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc's outcome seemed already determined. After the pit stop, Oscar stopped on lap 33. The gap between McLaren and Ferrari was 8 seconds, a margin that Piastri closed in 10 laps. The overtake seemed inevitable, but Charles Leclerc began to perform his little miracle by fending off the first attacks. Ferrari proved to be consistent, and after the initial failed overtaking attempts, McLaren saw the tire advantage slip away. At that point, Oscar Piastri's only chance to grab the podium depended on a drop in performance from Leclerc's set of hard tires, but Charles responded lap after lap without any issues. Frederic Vasseur added that he preferred not to delve into technical details, emphasizing that it was a matter of tire management. From the window in which they put on the tires, they could see from the first lap that they were in good shape. In such a position, it becomes possible to push a little more without risking tire damage. He admitted that he was initially concerned when Charles Leclerc was behind George Russell, fearing potential issues in the final part of the stint, but ultimately everything went well. Somewhat surprisingly, Ferrari put a very well-balanced car on the track, despite having to do without Carlos Sainz on Friday, who was sidelined by a transmission problem. The available data was less than usual. In the paddock, some joked that maybe it was a stroke of luck. And the setup changes proved impeccable, allowing the Scuderia to leave Zandvoort with 25 points, 1 less than Red Bull and 15 more than Mercedes. The good comeback race by Carlos Sainz, who started from 10th place, also contributed to the haul. The Spaniard set up a comeback race that brought him to 7th place after 11 laps, the position that had been indicated as the best possible result before the start of the Dutch Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz went further by overtaking George Russell, and on the 47th lap passing Sergio Perez with a skillful move on the outside of the Tarzan corner. He admitted that he hadn't expected this, explaining that after the qualifying session he had been somewhat pessimistic and disappointed. However, during the race, the car with a full fuel load immediately felt better than in the previous day's qualifying. In the end, he finished 6 or 7 seconds from the top 3, which he considered a really good performance. He noted that being able to overtake a Red Bull on such a challenging track indicated that the car was in an optimal operating window, and he believed he drove very well, something he felt proud of. Having overcome the feared Zandvoort hurdle, Scuderia Ferrari now looks ahead to the Monza weekend in the Italian Grand Prix, where the anticipated aerodynamic package of technical updates should allow the Maranello team to consistently fight for the podium without surprises. The achievable goals will become clear after the Monza, Baku, and Singapore rounds, and even though at the moment imagining a Ferrari capable of troubling McLaren, their closest rival in the constructors' standings, seems like a very risky prediction, the story of the 2024 Formula One Championship so far has shown that even certainties should be taken with caution. That's what Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, and the entire Maranello team are hoping for. Looking back at the events in the 15th round of the 2024 Formula One Championship, we can say that this is how one grows, this is how one becomes a champion. Lando Norris triumphed at the Zandvoort circuit, a track that belongs to the nobility of Formula One, despite once again making a mistake at the start. But instead of immediately reacting to Max Verstappen's overtake at the race start, he calmly waited for the right moment, 17 laps later, and made the pass. Then, as he himself recounted with relief, everything was easy, all downhill. Winning at Max Verstappen's home track, where he had been thrashed at Zandvoort, had the flavor of a revenge full of meaning and hope. Now the three-time Formula One world champion knows he has a more mature rival, more tempered by the small setbacks that are inevitable in a growth phase. One does not become a champion overnight, and Norris, if he continues as he did in the Netherlands, will reach the top in the right way. In the meantime, he established himself decisively, with a pace impossible for all the rivals, thanks also to a McLaren Mercedes that continues to grow and is getting stronger race after race, so much so that now the Constructors' Championship is within reach, while Max Verstappen's 70-point lead in the Drivers' Championship seems like climbing Everest. The abyssal gap of 22.8 seconds inflicted on Red Bull, along with an incredible fastest lap on the final lap of the Dutch Grand Prix, explains the balance of power at Zandvoort better than many words. While McLaren's success was widely expected, what surprised everyone was Charles Leclerc's third place. On Saturday, the Monegasque driver had said it would take a miracle to get on the podium, and in the race, the miracle happened. Not so much for the placement, identical to the one achieved in Belgium before the summer break, but because Ferrari finished just 2.6 seconds behind Max Verstappen's Red Bull. Neither Charles Leclerc nor Frederic Vasseur could explain what happened. It was probably a fortunate combination of factors, the first of which was the track surface temperature, which made the tires work well, mitigating the usual limits in fast corners. Under these conditions, the Monegasque driver was able to take risks, delivering a stunning race, considering that in an endless duel full of driving finesse and acrobatics, the Ferrari man held off Oscar Piastri's comeback, who had tires 9 laps fresher than his. Mercedes, on the other hand, was missing this weekend, having dominated the previous 2 Grands Prix, but was non-existent at Zandvoort. The only breath of joy and optimism coming from Stuttgart is the announcement that in the first practice sessions at Monza on Friday, there will be the absolute debut of Kimi Antonelli, signaling a new era in Formula One for Italy. But returning to the Netherlands, one cannot overlook the brilliant performance of Carlos Sainz, who, despite very few laps in practice due to his gearbox problem in FP2 and the difficult weather conditions, and Logan Sargent's crash in FP3, finished the race in 5th place with a pace that was also podium-worthy. Another piece of good news for the Maranello team, as substantial modifications will be brought to the car for the Italian Grand Prix next weekend, and maybe we will finally start to really enjoy ourselves.